I I promise it can't be no more fun hanging out any time in the world. Anybody more than James McCormick, Captain, retired James McCormick. Like, dude, how many you get shot? Like 27 or 45 times? You jumped on 6 grenades. You drove through 14 ambushes. You set off 17 claymores and you shot off 12 Stinger missiles, right? That's how it happened. And no, it had to be that, right? Right?
Well, I had 2 rounds left, and there was 50 out there, so I shot the first 2, and the others got so scared they died of a heart attack.
Amen, dude. They knew that they better not mess with you, man. You are a hero. So I got to start with a story that I tell everybody when they start talking about you. I don't even know if you remember it or not. I really don't. I'm an officer basic course platoon sergeant, and you and I are basically the same age. And maybe you might be a year older than I or a year younger, but we're basically the same age. And you had already been a platoon sergeant, and I got that, but I didn't really get that up until this time. So we're in the field about 3/4 of the way through the class, and we're just kind of really all getting to know each other, and we're doing a little road march. So I don't know, 3 miles. So we had a pack on our back. We had our weapons and our helmets and stuff. And we're just, doing our little thing. And we get to the end, to the buses. And something happened that you just I don't even think you put your pack down. You just stepped up into the doorway as everybody was offloading their stuff. And you just you just dressed everybody down. Like you were just I don't mean you weren't mean, but you were like when you said this, it made me feel this way. When you were doing this, how are your other soldiers going to feel? Why were you doing that in formation while we were marching down the road? And then you left it all with, I hope you get a platoon of soldiers just as sorry as you are. And Captain Lee and I are just well, we're just going to go over here for a while and let you guys work it out. I've never seen nothing in my life happen like that, right? Tell me about that day. What caused that?
Well, we had been out, on the field training exercise, and, and everybody's hot, everybody's tired, it's and look, I've got, I had at least, 10, 11 years on these guys, so it's my body's aching. We were older, Will, you, me, we were, we're the same age, Tom Lee, same, pretty much the same age, but yet we're out there doing it, and it's I was a student just like them. And what aggravated me is they weren't taking it serious. And we knew that we were leaving to go to war, and it's they're all thinking, well, I'm going to be in some, air-conditioned shed someplace, I'm an officer, I'm going to do this. And I ran into a lot of them in Iraq on the roads doing convoy security and knowing that they were going to be under fire. And, obviously we had some guys that were killed. We had some folks from our class that were wounded and mentally wounded. A lot of them are. I just felt I would rather you hear this from me than to feel the sting from the enemy's bullet. You know what I mean? And it just, but you know what? They could have all ganged up and, probably beat me up if they wanted to, but they didn't.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're just gonna beat you up. It's an interesting kind of thought and an interesting kind of dynamic to take a guy like you and where you were in your life and place you in the position that you were in. It's one thing to be a young college graduate that's going through the officer basic course in that particular time, right? There's one set of thoughts that go into that. And here's this guy, you're coming from left field, you were an air defender just because kind of that was a slot, I think, to get you somewhere, right? It wasn't like you were some patriot guy that was, you knew that this was just a ticket punch to get you to the next level at at a totally different kind of place. And
Yeah, I was originally an armor officer, and then went, I'd already taken a tank platoon out to NTC, and I was looking to go overseas. And I'll be honest with you, Will. I mean, I had a great civilian job, so I mean, I wasn't even really, I was straight guard. I was a platoon sergeant in the guard. It was great duty, but after 9/11, it was just, and I was working for Tyson Foods. I was making $80,000 a year, man. It was a great job, and a great company to work for. I was working in New York, you know, so it's obvious, I'm not going to escape the effects of 9/11. I can see it. It's here. And you know what? It was good for me. I needed to be humbled. I needed to be trained. I needed to be in a position to where I wasn't, because as a platoon sergeant, I was getting, I was kind of gruff, and, you were kind of, and I wanted to get into a position to where I had more influence over the lives of my soldiers. Because no matter how much that I knew as a platoon sergeant, there was always a second lieutenant that could come in and say, scratch that, we're going to do this instead. And it worried me. So, and thank God, I really came into this thing when I came down there and met with all of you. It was an eye-opening experience. Tremendous respect immediately out the gate, because you all were fit and good people and firm, but fair. And that's what we needed. You were trying. I don't think that there could have been I don't think there was ever an officer basic course team that was any better. I don't think I could have learned as much, and, all you had to say to me was, you could give me that look. Like, I can't believe that you would make this or say this. And so I was very cognizant of my position, my age, but I was also humbling myself in a position to where I needed to be. And that day, I felt like now I need to step up and be the adult in the room and talk to these young patriots about being soldiers and earning the respect of your soldiers, and, not, goofing off at, whatever they were doing. And look, there was a lot of goofing off that was going on out there. So I didn't even tell you half the stuff. They were cussing, they were laughing. And then the thing that bothered me the most was that we were trying to load the bus up and they would not pick up the pace. They just kept dragging and dragging. And it's like, if someone's shooting at you, would you be walking like that? I hope not. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. So, but one of the things that I guess I realized at the time, but I didn't realize at the time, is that, dude, you already had a fruit salad up here like crazy by that time, right? You had already been shot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, golly. What was that like? Tell me about what brought you to that point. Tell me how, give me the one over the world real quick, bringing us up to that point, if you don't mind.
So I joined when I was 17, and, I wanted to be Sergeant Rock. I read the magazines, the comic book, Sergeant Rock, and I wanted to be something, more than just an average person. You have these things, and we had really good role models. You think of the role models we had growing up. I mean, I just spent the last weekend in Vegas with Rocky Bleier and John Banaszak from the Pittsburgh Steelers, and got to be up on stage with them and announce the 240th draft pick. You know what I mean? And they were the real heroes, back in the day. I mean, here you got Rocky Bleier, got, his foot was mangled, he was gunshot in Vietnam. First, the fact that he went, you know what I mean? And he didn't just weasel out of it. He went, and then he was already a graduate of Notre Dame. So he could have become an officer. And, he didn't. He says, what, I'll just go I'll just be a soldier. And he became an infantryman. He got out as an E4. John Banaszak joins the Marine Corps, gets out as a corporal. You know, these guys went on to play professional ball after that. And I think that's why they're so humble and they're so well liked today, because they won't just ignore a fan who wants an autograph. You know, for instance, I told them about a lady that lives up the street from us and how she is just loves them, you know. And, you know, in West Virginia, we have this thing. If you get something that's really special, you put it in your china cabinet. You know what I mean? If you make it to my china cabinet, you're special. Okay.
Amen to that. Yeah.
So I told him about this lady. I said, if you send her a picture, she'll put it in her china cabinet. And, you know, today they sent me a text and said, on the way. You know, that's the kind of people that we had and we need more of today. And they were open about their faith. They were open about their love of country. And so growing up, I wanted to be like that. You know, I knew I was never going to be a professional football player. I played football in high school. I did have what they call a books and supplies scholarship to play at Potomac State. Me and a guy named Scott Alford. And Scott Alford went in the Air Force and I went in the Army, because it was like, you know, God, college, even, okay, you're going to buy my books, but how am I going to be able to pay for this other? I can't pay for this other stuff, you know. So we went into service, and going in, it was, you know, it was very interesting. Basic training was interesting. I went through in 1986 at Fort Knox. I was a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout at the time. Enjoyed that training, had some wonderful drill sergeants, you know, that I still see their faces today, you know, up in my face, you know. Now they had to bend down to get there.
I love it.
But, you know, they were up in your face and they were trying to make you a soldier. You know, I think we coddle people too much nowadays. I just be honest with you. I think that, you know, I went through and did this and then actually went active duty, was in 2nd to the 4th Cavalry, then re-enlisted and became an infantryman because there was a bonus at the time. So I went to Fort Benning, ended up staying at Fort Benning, went to Operation Desert Storm with a scout platoon in the 2nd of the 18th Infantry. You know, Desert Storm was fast and violent. It was very violent. You know, the air campaign alone was just, you know, absolutely destructive. And, you know, my time there, you know, was, you know, look, I would think about that a lot. And I'll tell you what I would think about more than anything, more than being injured, more than, you know, fighting the enemy or any of that. I would think about what was going on after that, because we spent several days in Iraq after that. And we spent a lot of time, you know, shooting dogs and keeping them from eating the dead enemy soldiers, which were all over the place. I mean, you know, it was the whole country was just absolutely littered, you know, where we were at with dead bodies. When we drove down the road, I was in the back talking to my driver, and he stopped the armored personnel carrier and he says, "Hey," he says, "I can't go forward. There's a dead guy in front of us." Well, we were the lead scout platoon. And so we called back and said, "We got dead bodies all over the place." And the response came back, "Do not delay the mission. If you can't drive around them, you got to drive over them. They're dead. Don't worry about it. Go, go, go." And I can remember stopping and my driver needing to pull out, you know, clothing and everything else that got caught up in the sprockets. It was a bad experience. And between that and the dogs and the burning, you know, it was, you know, it's the stuff that nightmares are made of. War is bad. And so going into this next war, I knew it was going to be bad and probably worse because it was an insurgency. If you remember when we were there, Iraq went from an invasion into an insurgency, and we started seeing the IEDs, and it's like, okay. And then by the time that we got there, you know, I got there right after Christmas. 2003, and then we ended up staying until April of 2005. So we got extended.
Wow.
But that whole time, you know, when we were there, we first started, I went over with the truck unit. And I'm thinking, why are you sending me with a transportation unit other than the fact that I volunteered to go where just get me over there and I'll go with whoever. Well, I found out real quick when you got there, it's like, you're going to do gun truck duty. You're going to do convoy security duty. And I became a platoon leader and eventually an executive officer and eventually a commander. And while we were there, we, you know, after the April uprising, 2004, worst time. So the first time I was shot was March 22nd. Okay. And that was on a bridge in Fallujah. The next time I was hit was April the 5th. And people are like, well, why didn't they send you to, you know, to Germany or this or that? Well, the Army, you know, casualty system, they look at you, you know what I mean? And, you know, if it's a bullet wound that goes in and out, guess what? They're going to patch you up. They're going to irrigate the wound and they're going to put you back. You know, you might get a week off or something like that. I think I got a week off. And ended up going right back out on another mission. Caught in the worst ambush of my life was on April the 7th, 2004. Worst ambush of my life. And that was going into the gates of Biop. And I'll be honest with you, Will, I was prepared to die that day. Yeah, I was. It was, you know, riding up, I saw where, you know, they started to ambush us as we were making the right turn to go into Biop. And they were really lined out. They had us in an L-shaped ambush, probably the most effective ambush you can get into. But being that I've been around this for a while, the only way to break an L-shaped ambush is to go for the apex, where that L meets at. Then you got to get them to converge their fire, and they'll eventually, yes, they will shoot you, but they'll end up shooting each other. And a lot of times they'll break contact because they don't want to do that. And so I told my driver to drive right up where this bridge and this intersection was, because I could see the flashes and I could hear the blasts and people are screaming on the radio. I'm hit. I'm hit. I'm hit. Oh my God. You know, I'm dying. I mean, you hear a lot of things, you know, and we get there and there's this bridge in front of me. And I know exactly how far it was. It was 75 yards. Okay. Because I went on Google Earth. I've relived this battle 1,000 times. What could I do better? What could I do better? And I'm watching this bridge, and I'm taking the 50 cal, bop, 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 you know, 100 rounds, boom, bop, 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 bop. And you're firing at the muzzle flashes or the cars that they were using to drive down the length of the convoy. And I'm popping smoke, yellow smoke. Here's where the enemy's at. And I've got my guys out of the vehicle. They're firing. I have a driver named Brian Noble. I have Ralph Blue. He was in the back behind in the back. And then we had a guy named Lawson in the right side. He's hitting the thigh. And you could just, I could hear that bullet smack. It just was just ungodly. But he kept walking. You know, my driver gets hit in the face. You know what I mean? They keep fighting. I get hit in the hand. I keep fighting. But then I watched a guy when he hit my hand with the, it shot through the plate. I looked and it was like, there's a hole. And it's like a dream. There's a hole in the mount where the 50 cal ammo can comes together. There's a hole there. Its bullet went through there. How strange is that? And it's like, my weapon's not firing. My hand, I can't grab anything. There's blood everywhere. And it's like you're in this dream, and I'm reaching up and I go over and I lift up the feed tray because I have to reconnect because evidently it broke my link. And when I slammed that tray down, the guy was pointing right at me. I didn't hear the shot, didn't hear anything. Next thing I know, I'm slammed and I'm in the bottom of the Humvee wondering what happened to me. And I'm looking around and there's this white dust right here. And as I'm laying there, and it seems like a long time, but it was only seconds, I said, okay, this is what it's like to die. I'm okay with this. I can die. But all the while you hear the gunfire, the roar, you know, the LT, are you okay? And my driver runs around, opens up the back hatch, you know. He says, you're shot. I said, I know, we're all shot, you know. And he said, well, get out of there. He says, I'll get up there. I said, no. I said, I'm going to get up here and I'm going to kill every one of these SOBs. You know, I was really, at that time, a rage comes over you. And I get up, and as my driver's going around, that guy on the bridge thinks he's killed me. You know, he probably thinks he put one right in my melon. But he's leaning over to get a better shot at my driver. And at that time, I was able to squeeze off around. I mean, all I saw, Will, was concrete from the bridge, clothing, and that rifle falling off of the bridge. And I'll never forget it because it hit the ground and it bounced like this. Bounce, bounce. And then something went over my head and blew up. Well, I looked to the left. There's these guys with grenades, you know, and they had thrown a grenade. Two guys had got up on our left-hand side. They were probably 20 yards away. And I couldn't get the 50 cal around. So I grabbed a flare. There was a red pop flare. I grabbed the red pop flare and I shot it at these guys. And it allowed me to grab my M16 and engage both of them. You know, and all of this is going on. Your bleed. I mean, that bloody handprint on that flare, you know, they got that in the museum. And I thought, you know, if there's ever an example of what it's like to be down to your, you know, to the, no joke, I'm up to my waist in a hand grenade and brass and hand grenade pins. That's where we were at. And the bullets were coming through the vehicle. I mean, it was crazy. But, you know, we lived. They didn't. And my driver gets in. Once the last truck gets in the gate, we start to pull in our vehicle. All the tires are shot out. So we had some run flats, which were really good. We drive up. There's a little building as you get ready to go into BIOP, the long road that goes into BIOP. And there's a little building. Over here's the big palace that they're at. The SF guys, you know, are over there. And we pull in behind this little building and we called in on a call sign, you know, what had happened. You know, we called into the sheriff freak. And they said, well, they've got QRF on the way. And I told my driver said, hey, look, LT says this, he says, this Humvee ain't gonna roll no more, buddy. He says, we're here. I said, we're gonna set up a defensive perimeter. I said, and hopefully they'll come. If they don't, then this is our Alamo. And every one of those guys looked at me and they knew what that meant. We ain't leaving. And there was another truck that had got separated from the convoy, a civilian truck. And all of a sudden, we get a call and said, there's a missing truck. There's a missing truck. So I'm looking behind me and I don't see this truck. And then all of a sudden, out of the smoke, here comes this truck, this guy, you know, this Pakistani driver. He's just hauling butt, you know. He's trying to get through that. And he makes the turn. And thank God he got in the gate. But we sat out there for probably, I don't know, 20 minutes waiting on QRF, and QRF came. The enemy made one final attempt. They were in a car, and it was a blue four-door car. I don't know what kind it was, but it looked like an old Buick is what it looked like. And they were driving, you know, towards our position. And of course, you know, we were very mindful because there's a lot of civilians around there. You don't want to kill a civilian. And but about that time, you know, they started firing at us, you know, with that AK round. And man, we just lit into them. You know, we cut them down. And I remember seeing the car just stopped, and it was just rocking with all the bullets hitting it. You know, the 50 cal, the M16, the 203, you know, grenades that my driver was dropping on this thing. and smoke just started billowing out the whole sides of this car, and it didn't explode or anything. It just caught on fire. And we never saw anybody come out of that. And, it's a bad thing, Will. It's a bad thing that humans have to kill each other. It really is. We've all been under fire. You've been under fire. We've all been under fire. We know what that's like. It's scary. It's very scary. If anybody says I'm not scared, they're crazy. But you were scared, but you were calm. Rocky Blyer and I talked about this weekend. And when you say this to people, he was telling me about the day he got shot. And he was at this, he was in this rice paddy. And there was like this ditch. And he says, I was on the end. He said, and I had an M79 grenade launcher. And he said, and I was just kind of, we were getting shot at. But he said, I was looking. And he said, it was like all of a sudden this calm came over me and allowed me to think. And, there's two things there: divine intervention and training, which is why I'm glad that I told those guys that day. And I hope it sunk in.
Amen. Amen. Okay. So that's just, so you told me that like when y'all got ambushed, y'all had already like gone out to go help somebody else that had been ambushed, right?
Yeah,
Didn't
right,
you tell me that? Like,
well, that was the last. So when we got wounded, we got, they took us to the palace. And let me just say this: I was never SF or airborne or anything. I'll just say this. But God bless the Green Berets. God bless the United States Army, Green Berets, and the paratroopers that took us in and treated us. And not only did they treat us, but they treated us as soldiers. And they never looked down on us. And they helped us get ammo. They helped us get replacement plates. You know what I mean? They were just, I could never say enough good about the 5th Special Forces group, that entire group that was there in 2004, 2005, because they were silent professionals, man. They just were just so good. And then from there, we went to on to BIOP to go to the hospital, got hand stitched up, got all this stuff done. Now, they wanted to take Brandon Lawson. They wanted to take him to Germany because his wound was pretty significant. And I'll never forget that kid coming up to me crying. Sir, he says, don't let him send me to Germany. He says, I can't leave you guys. And, we talked to the doctor, says, is there any way? And he said, well, you have to irrigate the wound so it doesn't get infected. And as long as you're telling me that you all are not going to be engaging in combat for at least 72 hours. And I couldn't promise him that, but I said, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? we're going to go lick our wounds and sit down. Well, we ended up going into BIOP parking, and we were parked by the West Gate. And this was Good Friday came up, really bad day on the road. Saturday, we got rocketed and mortared, And then Sunday, Easter Sunday, we were sitting there listening to the Sheriff's Freak, and we watched an Apache helicopter go out on Easter Sunday, April 11th, 2004, probably about 20 minutes till 12 in the afternoon, and got shot down. And we could hear these convoys that were under fire, running out of ammo. Like I told you, you hear that screaming on the radio. Some people wanted to turn their radio off. And I'm like, no, I said, I can't take this, So I told my crew, I said, we're going to go to the gate to see if we can get out, because we watched where that helicopter was shot down at. We were less than 5 miles from where that had occurred. We could have got out there relatively quickly.
Hold on. Stop just a second.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I'm hearing this right. You are recovering.
Yeah.
You're recovering from being shot. You're not even at your home unit. You're at a totally different spot. There's no reason for you to be working at all, right? You should all be there with your feet up,
Yeah,
sipping ices and
yeah,
watching old MASH, reruns, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay. So all of a
yeah,
sudden you're in a foreign place
yeah,
and the shit goes down at the gate or outside the
yeah.
gate because a helicopter goes down. Okay. All right. Continue the story.
So
Continue
we
the
get to
story.
the gate. We get to the gate, and we talked to the gate guard and said, "Hey, look, we need to get out of this gate. We got a 50 cal." Now they looked up. My arm was bandaged up to here. Okay. Now the fingers, I had my thumb. I asked the doctor to please allow my thumb, but these fingers were all broken. Will, they were. I was hurt. Okay, and it hurt really bad. But I could move my thumb miraculously enough to squeeze that butterfly on that 50 cal. And my guys, here you got a guy that's got a big patch on his face, another one on his leg. And all of these guys volunteered. Not only that, I had another guy named Anthony Richardson from another unit that was out there on a convoy, came up and says, "Hell, I'll go with you." And he ended up staying with us for that whole trip. So we go to the gate. The gate guard, they had a Bradley fighting vehicle pulled in front of the gate. Says, "Nope," said, "you can't go out." Said, "Roads are black." Said, "QRF is on the way. You guys need to go back to your area." As we're driving back along that long it's like an 8-foot tall center block wall. And you had a couple places where you had berms where Humvees could drive up and do overwatch. And you had a tower. We got almost to the tower when small arms fire started erupting, and we could see, we could hear the bullets. I mean, it sounded like bees going by. I was like, dang, man, somebody's shooting at us. And you could see the cinder block just picking. And I was like, who's shooting at us? So I told my driver, I said, drive up on that berm. There was nobody there on the berm. There was a guy in the guard tower who looked down and he says, wait a minute. I said, hey, we're lock and loaded. We're ready to go. We can get up there and start and get to work right now. And about that time, Will, that tower was hit with small arms fire. And I took that as our, okay, get your butt up there. It's time to get up there. And I told my driver, drive up. And Brian Noble is probably one of the bravest United States soldiers that I ever met in my life. Just a super fantastic individual. I mean, the guy would have died for his people. It died for us. He was just phenomenal. So he lived up to his name, Noble. He was very noble. So he pulls up. The first thing that happens, he throws it in park, and I'm looking around. I'm like, hold on a second, guys. And they get out. The door's open. 4 guys get out. They're looking. And we're all in shock because it's like there are people everywhere. And it's like we just started shooting. And literally, some of the guys had crossed the canal. They had got almost to the wall. There were ladders that they had laid out there the day before, and the ladders were in the high grass. They found those later. They literally had a plan to assault the camp. They timed it at right about noon on Easter Sunday when they knew everybody would be eating dinner. They'd be in a chow hall. All you got to get is one guy with an explosive vest in that chow hall. They did that in Mosul not long after that. So we shot the first guy, and he had a vest on, had to, because he exploded. And then you started getting the RPG fires. If you watch the video and listen to the sounds, you hear crump, crump, crump. That's those RPGs getting fired and hitting at the base of the wall or hitting in the ground or flying over. You can hear them like rockets flying over. And people thought, are those tires? Because somebody said, are those tires? Because you're, I said, no, those are rockets. Those are rockets. And you'd hear one of them burst, and the whole camp was full of people. It's full of people. Easter Sunday, it's all the roads are black. Muqtada al-Sadr's lost his mind, blew up bridges. Everybody's there. Target-rich environment for the enemy. I would say they had between 50 and 75, maybe more, and they were all dressed in black. Every one of them were dressed in black, like the Mahdi militia uniform, and they were moving and giving distinct commands. So they were trained. They weren't just a bunch of yahoos. Some of the guys that we captured or that were captured later, and there were some captured. There were a lot more killed than there were captured, but the ones that were captured, they were rock solid, no joke, Mahdi militiamen. They were fanatical. And so, yeah, that we spent about almost an hour there. And then after that had happened, we had other people that showed up, and it was just, but ultimately you had 11 guys when this really was kicking off. You had 11 soldiers that went there to plug that very critical hole in that spot, because there was the enemy. Once they realized they couldn't get in here because it was a blind spot, the Bradley couldn't see them. You see, the way the terrain was set, the way that there were houses that were right there, they used all this. So they were smart. And then another group set up on down the wall probably 30 minutes after this, and they engaged a group of guys as well. So, I mean, there were some really spectacular, phenomenal soldiers, but that first few minutes, you had the James McCormick crew and Brian Noble and Anthony Richardson, and it felt like we were trying to hold back away from the ocean, man. It really was. It was a heck of a time. I'll tell you that it was. But after that was over, we had some guys that they went to the Burger King and brought back some Whoppers, and I remember eating a dang Whopper from Burger King. I'm like, I mean, I've been shot 2 days ago. I'm out here, just got finished doing all this. Now I'm eating a dang Whopper from Burger King. And, then we get a call and said, hey, we need all of the gun truck crews that are available to come to MTC movement, or, to the movement control point. So, of course, we went there. They said, we've got to get the trucks out of here. We've got ammunition. We got supplies that have got to get over to the green zone. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a gauntlet. You cannot run more than 14 trucks. Well, my crew and then 2 other crews from the Ohio National Guard, 1486 Transportation Company, volunteered, and we ran 4 times to the green zone after that. 4 times. The first 2 times we went through, we were ambushed from the time we left the gate all the way from that route going into the green zone. And I believe I don't think that was Route Irish. Yeah, it was. It was Route Irish. And it went through this city. And when you got to this city, it was worse because they were shooting at you from every dang window, it seemed like. And the remarkable thing is that we had got ammunition from the Special Forces. United States Army Special Forces, God bless you. Hats off to you. I was never a Green Beret, but I tell you what, if ever I get a chance to ever help them guys, I'll do anything I can for them. They gave us some ammunition. They called them slap rounds. Well, I had never fired a slap round. They said, if you ever get into a city, he said, these rounds, they're Sabo rounds. They will go through the cinder block and they'll be able to take out the enemy in those buildings. And, well, of course, we're in these big old massive junky old buildings, and these guys are shooting at us from behind the walls. And sure enough, man, we were able to lay waste. And so as we went through there, we peeled off to the right side of the road. And instead of just shooting and driving, we tried to build a wall of fire so that the trucks wouldn't get hit. Now, when they get to the gate of the green zone, this is what really aggravated me. the MP stopped him at the gate, made him get out and ground guide, you know. And I'm like, and one of the drivers says, "Can't you hear what's going on?" And it didn't matter. You know, he had to ground guide these guys through there. So they were jumping off, trying to ground guide the trucks. And here we finally get in. The 3 gun trucks are like this in a wedge in the back. And we're just daring the enemy. And boy, they're coming out. The second trip, they were really waiting on us. And they had a bus. I mean, a civilian bus. And they had busted out all the windows. They were trying to ram the convoy with the bus. And when I fired the 50 cal, Will, I remember seeing those bullets just going tick, 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 right across that big front glass of that bus. The side glasses they were shooting out of, the freaking door was wide open. Then the next Humvee comes up, has a Mark 19. Blub, 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 blub. That thing finally caught on fire. And again, you didn't see anybody come off there. You know, they still were shooting while that thing was on fire. So I don't want to degrade the enemy, but I want to say this, that if you don't have a little bit of respect for your enemy, they will kill you, okay? So you have to respect them enough to know that they're not just a bunch of yahoos. You know, they're going to try to do this. But anyways, it's just very chaotic, and we did that. Now, the fourth trip, because we had raised so much hell going through for the first 3, you know, I think we might have got shot at once or twice, but it was over at that point. You know, we left them flaming. But we took 3 14-truck convoys into the green zone, full of ammunition, full of supplies, food, whatever they needed, and stayed in the green zone under the big, you know, the big sabers that they got there. And again, you know, we're sitting there, let's break out some chow. You know, we break out some chow. We start eating, smoking cigarettes, laughing, joking, you know. But deep down inside, the end of that day, when it was finally over, you know, everybody put on a show, but we all got together. And after that was over, and I saw people hysterically laughing, crying. You know, it was like all these emotions. Here it is, Easter Sunday. It's supposed to be the most holiest day for us as Christians. And we're out doing this. You know, the enemy's out doing that. But I think what kept our hearts pure was the fact that, you know, if we saw a civilian, we didn't shoot. You know, during that attack on Biop, there were kids in that house that the enemy flushed out and ran behind them, shooting over their heads. And we watched those little kids. And I said, cease fire. And we just got down and we just had to take it, you know. But the kids were smart. You know, those kids are smart. They know how to keep from getting killed. And they jumped down into the ditch, into the ravine. And once the last child got down there, boy, we really laid it to them after that, you know, because that was just the dirtiest thing you could have ever done. You know, use a child for a shield. I mean, I you know, at that point, you know, I didn't have much respect, you know, for them at that point. But, you know, they were still a very tough enemy. They were no joke, Will. They were killers, man. And they were, had no problem killing you. And they had killed a bunch of Americans that whole week. And I think we lost 109 soldiers that week. And, you know, a lot of kids didn't go home. Those 2 pilots on that Apache, they died, you know. One was from Oklahoma, I think. And, you know, I always felt so bad for those folks, you know. So, I mean, for me, it wasn't about trying to be a hero. It was just trying to do your job and help people, you know. Don't leave somebody, you know, behind. You just don't do that. You can't.
Tell me a little bit about your spirituality, if you don't mind. You know, there's no atheist on the battlefield, and you just talked about, you know, relying on something that look, you happened to be there to plug a hole in a wall, right? By divine intervention. Somehow, you happened to be there to run 4 convoys back and forth as a crucial part of the team that wouldn't have been there otherwise.
Well, faith is, was instilled in me by my grandmother. My grandmother was always praying for me. And my grandmother and grandfather really, they really took a great part in raising me. Of course, my mother was there. My dad, had died in 2000, a couple years before that. He was 52 years old. He was a Vietnam vet and had cancer. So my grandmother would say, she'd say, "Oh, son, don't have hate in your heart. Pray for your enemies." And she would tell me that. She taught me about Jesus, man. I'm just going to tell you. She taught me all about Jesus and who he was, and said, now, when the time comes and you have to do what you do what you do, but you take no pleasure in it, And I think that's why, you have these things. Now, my grandmother knew that I was wounded one time, but I didn't tell him the second time. And she died, unfortunately, while I was overseas, and so did my grandfather. And I didn't get to come home for their funeral, and it hurt me deeply. And to this day, it hurt me. My commanders would say, we're sorry, but that's the policy, and I wouldn't complain about it. It wasn't their fault. It pained them to tell me that, because they knew, when all this happened, what I had been through. But the last time I spoke to my grandmother on the phone, I could tell, it was, she was pretty ill at the time. And it was on Easter Sunday. After that, we got to a phone, and she asked me, she said, and this is after we get to the green zone. This is after we do all of this. And she says, I know you got hurt. Yeah, that's how she would say. She'd never say wounded. I know you got hurt. She said, are you feeling okay? I said, oh yeah, Granny, I'm doing fine. And as I was sitting on that phone, she said, we've been seeing a lot of bad stuff going on up there. I hope you're not involved in any of that. And I said, no, Granny. I said, it's been just a peaceful Easter Sunday. And first, I know she knows I lied to her, but I hope that she knows that it was because I wanted to not upset her and shorten her lifespan. It was the hardest thing to tell her that, because I wanted to tell her I'm hurt. I'm spiritually hurt. I'm mentally hurt. I'm exhausted, So yeah, man, it was an experience, and it drew me closer to God. I openly prayed. We openly prayed before we went out on missions. We didn't care, what anybody thought about it. I think people need to pray more now. They somehow feel like it's going to offend somebody. It shouldn't offend somebody. Here's the deal. I'm not offended if I walk in and I see a Muslim praying. I was never offended by it. It didn't offend me at all. Or an atheist saying that I don't pray. It doesn't offend me. That's up to you. If if you're whatever, you have to face the judgment, not me. But for some reason, the Christian faith seems to be attacked relentlessly. And it started not long after some of this stuff, so my relationship with God grew stronger after that. And it's grown stronger even to this day, to where, I have tremendous faith. I read the Bible. I study, God's word. I put it out on a ministry Facebook page called New Haven House of Prayer. My wife and I run Loving Faith Consignment Shop, where we do a nonprofit. We try to help people. And, some of the people that come into our shop looking for help, they are the destitute. They're what people would consider to be the dregs of society, the drug addicts, the people that, but you know what? You got to feed people, man. You got to feed people. Now, you can't let people come in and steal, walk all over you. But it's like, dude, if you come up, you're somebody's son, you're somebody's daughter. And I realized that when I was overseas and we were fighting these people. I said, that's somebody's son, that's somebody's daughter. I wouldn't allow my guys, and I told you about what happened in Desert Storm, running over the bodies. That was just a bad thing. But we wouldn't walk up and urinate on the dead bodies or, they were dead. At that point, they no longer was my enemy. They were no longer my enemy. If they don't have a weapon, they're not your enemy. We captured a lot of people. I never cut anybody's throat. I didn't do anything like that. We followed the rules of warfare, even though some people think that they talk tough and it's like, yeah, you should have just, no, I shouldn't have, because then that makes me just like them. That makes Americans just like them. And we are not like them. We can defeat them on the battlefield. No doubt. We can defeat them on the battlefield. But the minute you blow their arm off or they drop their weapon, we have an obligation, to safeguard them. That's part of the 5 S's, You remember that.
Yeah. So I had a failed attempt at being a prisoner taker one time. I got my own story about how I didn't do that great of a job at it, but yeah. Yeah, I know about the search, segregate, silence, speed to the rear. Oh, yep. I remember that stuff.
The 5 S's, man.
Yeah, I want to share a video with you. Let's do that. Man. Let's do that, man. I am just so appreciative of getting to talk to you. Wow, it's so much fun.
Listen, I'm tired of saying this. I'm coming to see you.
Amen.
Where are you? Alabama?
Yeah, in Alabama. Mm-hmm. We'll get it together. Yeah. Here we go. That's that. Look at all this. So cool.
Got the feeling in your bones. Make you feel right at home. Honey, does it well. Keep me dancing till I'm dead. 'Cause I could run a mile like this. Head over heels, feels like this. The sun has got me on my track. I ain't never looking back. I ain't looking back. I ain't looking back. I ain't looking back.
That's the uncensored version sent to me by Captain Retired James McCormick. It was so cool, right? It's so cool to get that stuff.
You're so skilled at this stuff. I don't know. I know we don't have much time left, but
dude, we got plenty of time. We got all night. This is fun. Yeah, there's no time constraint. Look, CBS does not constrain me to commercials.
because I wanted to say this. I got to say this, okay? I have started to really develop a very good relationship with soldiers that I served with that, that remains this day. You see some of them on here, David Gurman, that's one of them right there. He was a truck driver with the 1487 Trans Company. And, Lieutenant Mark Ruffing, who, when we were overseas, we didn't always see eye to eye. But, man, he found Jesus, brother. You know what I'm saying? He found Jesus. I found Jesus. And I see that man. I want to hug him and say, I love you, brother. You know what I mean? I'm so glad that you're alive and you made it out there. And all of them did. The old James McCormick was a little different. And I would get a little rowdy sometimes, you know what I mean? But the new guy, that's what happens. God does that to you, man. He will take that all that guilt, all that shame, all that stuff and gets rid of it. And I sleep well at night because I know in my heart, I never murdered anyone. Never. And, but before I went to war, I probably murdered a lot of, spirits by my mean talk, when sometimes, it says when you wish someone dead or you speak ill of them, it's as if you're killing them, and it's that weighed heavy on my heart, man. And it's like everything you do today, you got to sleep with tonight. And, God is there for all of us. And all you got to do is just ask, and he'll put that love in your heart. Now, The devil's going to attack you. All these bad things are going to attack you. People are going to come after you. Man, I went through almost 2 years where I had these rascals that just kept trying to run me down, talk bad about me, because I exposed them. I exposed one of the guys for stolen valor. He was lying, telling people he had 2 Purple Hearts and he did these things that he didn't do, and it was wrong. You know what I mean? And they had, they basically had butchered a guy's reputation by getting a hold of his VA medical files and putting them out for everybody to see. It's like this, that, and it's like, dude, that's private HIPAA protected information. What's wrong with you if you lost? And the guy worked for the VA. The guy worked for the VA. So, they just go and they do these things. And I had some good friends. They said, hey, look, let them do their thing. You know what I mean? Let them say what they want. The people that really know you, they just they don't even respond to that. And, and so, going through that experience and then coming back from that 19-day mission, of which Gurman and all the others were on as well. And they can tell you it was horrible, but we formed a unit in theater that the United States Army that was there, that was handling the transportation, says, we've got to have, better gun truck support, because we just, we took a beating, we really did. Now, we were very fortunate, that we had some rough and tough kids. I mean, look, when these soldiers came to us, they might have been truck drivers, or cooks or clerks or whatever, mechanics, but they were tough inner city, tough rural kids from the Midwest. I mean, I had guys from Nebraska, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida, Georgia. They were from everywhere, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Nebraska, Nevada, Kansas. I'm like, come on, these are real cowboys. So what they did is they had a guy named Rob Landry, and he's such a great guy. You need to have him on, Rob Landry. Now, he was an executive with Enterprise Rental Car, and he came over there. He was an infantry captain. He was kind of like me, man. He was looking to get in the game, and they said, well, we're going to send you to a transportation unit. And he became like a battle captain and was traveling around. He got stuck during the April uprising. So he went to Colonel Humans. Listen, this could have never happened in any other time, I'm telling you. Because he went to Colonel Humans, who was the 375th commander. Fine man. And he says, look, we've got this, we got to do something. The Army wants us to, protect our convoys. I think we need to make a unit and call it a gun truck unit. And we need to just go, we need to go find these, whoever this crew was in this Zebra Humvee that was tearing crap up, because it was all over. People had heard about it. And I took a lot of flack for painting the zebra stripes on our Humvee. And it's like, let me tell you why I did that. It had nothing to do with being cocky or arrogant. It had everything to do with, I want the enemy to know that it's me, it's us coming after you. Because if we kick your tail really good, then you're going to think twice about coming after us again. And they were very smart. If you looked at the intel, some of the reports that came out, there was a group of truck drivers that had a certain thing on their, side of their vehicle, and they were like, these guys, they'll just run so we can shoot them, and they'll drop their load, and then they get to steal all that equipment. Whereas if they saw one with a big iron camel on the side of it, which is that 1487, or that other one that said, let's roll, from the 1486, or some of the other guys that you see now there, the enemy knew these guys are going to give you a fight. So what happened is the colonel went to General Stoltz, who was a brigadier general at the time, says, can we form this unit? And he says, okay, well, they looked at the regulations. I'm sure they broke almost every one of them, but they said, yep, we're going to form it. Well, what do you want to call it? Well, Rob Landry's mother had died of cancer not long ago, when this happened. And her birthday was the 5/18. Same birthday as my son. But her birthday was 5/18. And so he said, I'm going to call it 518 because my mother, in her last days, she wasn't worried about anybody else. He told us that story, and they drug 120 of us into this tent and said, we'd never worked with each other, most of us. It's like, we're going to form this unit. He looked at me, said, and you're going to be the executive officer. So I became the XO and the quasi platoon leader for, all the platoons. We had a couple of other officers that were with us that were in an admin role, but we went through, and what was told to us, you stand up the 518th and you saw the patch. It said U.S. Regulators. That was our name, the U.S. Regulators. We painted that on every door. And I explained to them, you do that. But you make darn sure you don't show the white feather or be yellow. If you're going to be yellow or show the white feather, just get out of here now because we don't need you. Because you're not going to be driving a truck anymore. You're going to be protecting those guys. Your job is to protect them. That means if you're out front and you're running the front vehicle and you see that car coming right for you, you don't get the option to dodge it. You can either shoot it or you're going to have to ram it and eat it. And those guys got it. And let me tell you, these rough and rugged kids from Nevada, wherever they came from, my God, I had one of them. He'd been busted 3 times when he was sent to us. And his name was Aaron McManus. And Aaron McManus was a great soldier. He was not a good, he was not what I would say a good person that spit and polish guy. But he was a great soldier. And the only thing, let me tell you whose fault it was that he got busted. It was his leadership's fault because they failed to see the talents of this young man. He was a phenomenal leader, a heroic individual. And all of those guys, if you see somebody was in the 518th, I'm telling you, every one of them were under fire at least 8, 10, 15 times. Every one of them rose to the challenge, did what they were supposed to do when they were supposed to do it. And every one of them can tell you that all of our convoys from that point on, once we got the 518th trained up and running, do you know how many crews that we lost? Do you know how many trucks we lost? How many U.S. soldiers we lost?
Amen.
0.
Amen. Amen.
So we were batting 1,000, man. And
tiger stripes, baby. Zebra stripes.
Zebra stripes. Well, they were supposed to be tiger stripes. And then one of the guys said, well, it looks more like zebra stripes. I said, well, a zebra will run. But I'm like, I don't care. Call it the zebra. I don't care what you call it.
Amen. So tell me, one of the things that I want to explore with you is, what's it like to know that some other human being is actively trying to kill you? Tell me about that.
Well, first off, I automatically realize that the world is inherently evil. Okay, it's just there's evil in the world. I'm sure that I have people right now that would love to be so happy to see you dead. You know what I mean? You too, me too. There's no matter where you go, you're never going to make everybody like you. But when you go into a situation like that, you realize, I got to put my head on a swivel. And I had 2 sons go to war. They deployed, went overseas. And they'll be the first to tell you, it was nothing. It was nothing, Dad. It wasn't like you went through, But Dad was worried about them. And the thing I told them both is, when your kid's getting ready to go to war and you have experience, you've got to have this talk with them. You have to tell them that, number one, it's okay for you to fire your weapon if somebody's firing at you. It's okay. God will love you. He will forgive you. You know what I mean? You defend yourself. You defend the people you're with. And number 2, you keep your head on a swivel, boy, because every time that you go out that gate, somebody is going to be watching you. And if you're not paying attention, you're listening to music, or you're goofing off, or you're whatever, I said, they're going to plug you. I said, and if they plug you like that and they kill you, it's not a video game. You don't get your life back. And you have to constantly have yourself. It's just like you're always tense all the time. But when you get into the base camp and you know you're in safety, that's when you just it's like everything just falls off. And that's the key. That's the key. Now, a lot of people deal with post-traumatic stress. Rocky Blyer, famous football player, I keep talking about him. John Banaszak, all these guys that you talk to. You know what the difference is with those guys? They talk about their experiences. And they don't deal as much with PTSD. You got to talk about it. And Rocky and I were talking, you know, what makes people not want to talk about it? For me, in the beginning, it was just like, I just didn't want to talk about it, but not because I wouldn't, but especially the Desert Storm thing. The Desert Storm thing, you know, it was just so fast, chaotic, violent. And it's been so long ago. You know, a lot of that, God has blessed me with toning down those sharp memories, you know, and hey, look, God will do that for you. He really will. And so you tone down those sharp memories. You know, honestly, I felt worse about shooting dogs than I did about shooting people. I'm just going to be honest with y'all because the dogs weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to eat. But you realize that if they eat the human flesh, they're going to be a hazard, you know. And I tried to, you know, you see this, you know, occur. You know, you kill 100, 200 dogs, you know, I mean, it weighs heavy on you. And it's like, people look at you like you're crazy, but it's like, if you don't, then maybe they'll maul some kid to death. You know, I wasn't there to kill kids or to kill civilians. I wasn't there for that, or to leave them with a mess like that. You know, that was not my job. And I think that when you get that, you realize that I'm there and you can talk about it and you have your friends with you and you realize somebody's going to try to kill you, then you can deal with it. That's whenever the calmness will come about you. Getting shot in the chest was the best thing that ever happened to me. Just going to be telling you all that right now. It hurt. It was painful. I could have died. It could have, you know, if you ever see my vest, and I'll show you a picture of it. The vest, the plate is actually in the West Virginia Cultural Center, and it's there. And you see the bullet hole right there. And it was right here. Almost missed the plate. So it would have potentially tore my shoulder up. But it hit right there. And once that happened, and once I got through that initial anger phase, I was not worried about dying. I was okay with, you know, you can't control it. You know what I mean? You can't go around worrying about dying all the time. You just can't. It doesn't mean that you willy-nilly do anything. You keep your head on a swivel, you pay attention, but you can't sit around and be worried about, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You know what I mean? You need to be saying, oh my God, but in prayer. Oh my God, please help me. Give me the calmness and spirit. And Rocky and I talked about his experience in Vietnam, the calmness. And when he told me that, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the first time I've heard somebody else tell me this. You know, it's not really about bravery. It's really not. It has nothing to do with bravery. Nobody goes out to look to be a hero. If they would have gave me 1 medal, 10 medals, no medal, it didn't matter to me. You know what I mean? What mattered to me was what I told you just a little bit ago. When we came in from our mission, we lost no crew. We've accomplished our mission. And every time that we faced the enemy, we defeated them. And we defeated them so badly that the next convoy coming up the road didn't have to face them anymore. And for me, I can sleep easy with that.
It's an interesting thing that you talk about in making a presence on the battlefield such that you knew that the people that were shooting at you knew who you were and knew where you were coming from and where you were going, and they could choose whether to give the signal to start shooting or not, right? Mm-hmm. And you knew if they knew it was you that they were going to get a hornet's nest of 50 cal and other whoop ass coming back at them, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, we'd shoot everything up to and including the pop flares at them because, you know, we weren't there to lose. You know, you don't go in to lose. You know, you go in to win. You have to have that winner mentality. You're not there to say, you got to keep your head on a swivel. I mean, that's the big thing. And that's with life too. The other thing is, I don't know if you know this or not, but we had business cards made, man. I mean, we had business cards
throwing
made.
flyers out.
Yes, absolutely. And we didn't throw them on the bodies, or anything like that. We didn't stick them in their mouth or any of that stuff. Like I said, they were dead. They weren't our enemy, but we tossed those cards out with our symbol on it that said, "You do this, and you will face this again. I promise you."
Wow.
And it was written in English on one side and Arabic on the other because I didn't want them to miss it.
Oh, wow.
Because what I really wanted them to do was to not shoot at any of us. That's what I wanted them to do. And I didn't want to have to shoot anybody. You know what I mean? And it's like, and people are so, people are really, some people can be really crass about this thing. There is a culture war in America, where people look upon me and look upon soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, people that have had to do the unthinkable for the defense of this country and want to demonize us, want to call us, say, well, why didn't you do this or do that any better? Well, look, they were not willing to get out and shake hands and talk. Every time that we were shot at first, except for a couple of times, whenever we had caught people setting up or moving into a position to do that, and at that point, that's the smart thing to do. You engage your enemy, you engage the enemy, and you achieve your objective through the use of fire maneuver. And you get through and you do your job, and that's it. And that's all you do. I'm not into, I'm not into defacing bodies. I was very disappointed in some of the stuff that has occurred with some of these service members. I wasn't into murdering people. Once they had surrendered, I wouldn't, we just didn't do that. There's a video that's circulating, that was shot. We shot videos when we processed POWs because we were accused of all these different things, and we would shoot the videos of them and we would treat them for their wounds. In some cases, still taking fire from their buddies out there. And it was difficult. We faced some very hard times, but we could never sink to their level. Be good to the kids, be good to the local population. If you can, do it. Befriend them. You'll never know how many of those civilians came to us and gave us information about bombs, explosives, and people up the road. All the time. And one little girl, I'm just gonna tell you this. They. Oh my God, man, it's hard. But I've got to tell you, okay? I've got to tell this thing. They had these 3 little girls that used to come out and talk to us all the time. And some of my guys on here, when I tell this, they'll cry, because it's so powerful. It is terrible. We had a heck of a firefight on January the 30th of 2005. And these girls lived close to this. I hope I didn't lose you, Will.
No, we're right here. I just wanted to make you big.
Yeah, okay. So we had these little girls. They would always come out. They would befriend us. We'd give them, stuff. My guys have pictures of them treating them for conjunctivitis in their eyes and loving these kids. You know what I mean? And giving them something that they didn't normally get. Okay. And this battle occurred, and we kicked the snot out of the enemy. I mean, look, we don't go into this. Look, we go in to win the Super Bowl every freaking time. You know what I mean? That's the attitude you've got to have. And you go in to that. But we had not lost our ability to have compassion. People would say, oh, you guys are bloodthirsty killers or all this other stuff. No, we're not. But if you're standing in front of me and you're trying to hurt somebody that I love, or you're trying to hurt something that I'm here to protect, you can bet you I will flip that switch and go right back to being the guy I was in Iraq today. Come in and try to hurt one of my kids and find out what happens. That's just the way we are. But that's what everybody does. But these little kids did nothing. And 2 days after this battle had occurred, my guys were out on patrol and they found one of those little girls with her throat cut and a sign around her neck. And, you know, from that point forward, it was hard times for the enemy. I'll just tell you that. We had the job of clearing that route, and we did it. You know what I mean? And we were very, you know, I've got pictures of that little girl. I do. And let me tell you, not dead. I want to try to always get that out, but I have to say this because I want the people to know how ruthless these people are, you know. And all this crap about, well, we shouldn't have been there, wasn't our war. What doesn't matter? If we weren't there, they would still be cutting kids' throats. Okay. And that's not the kind of thing. If you love humanity and you are, you know, whether you're on the left and you're woke or whether you're on the extreme right, I don't care what side you're on. But if you truly love humanity, then you cannot stand by and allow those kind of things to occur. You just can't. You know, there's a sign out there, and I've seen it a few times, you know, and I hate to even repeat it, but it's the truth. There are some people, men especially, that are so evil that it's worth making a trip to hell to make sure they get there.
Amen.
You know,
Amen.
and so it's, you know, God is good, brother. I mean, we have to, you know, we have to always maintain our humanity. So when you get a chance to be kind, always be kind. You know, be kind to animals, be kind to kids, be kind to people. You know, show love. Tell people that you love them. You know, my dad, before he died, I can tell you, my whole life, I can count on two hands how many times he said he loved me. And he told me most of those in his last moments. And the last thing that he said to me was on the phone is I love you, son. And I said, Dad, I love you too. And, you know, that stuff you just can't never get back. And love your country, man. I mean, look what's going on right now. You know, all this stuff we fought for, you served for. I mean, you know, look, man, we did a lot of time, hard time, man. You know, training people was hard, especially hard-headed lieutenants, you know.
Dude, you were one of the funnest guys I ever did any training with. It was awesome. You were definitely one of the coolest of the cool. Do me a favor and brag on your kids for a minute. You don't have any kids, do you?
Yeah, I got 8. Yeah, I got 8 grandkids too. Let me tell you about my kids. We have 3 serving. So I have 2 sons and a daughter-in-law that are serving right now. I'm so proud of them. But of course, I'm proud of all my kids. You know what I mean? I got 2 that still live at home. They're 12 and 11. Of course, my son says, look, Dad, I'm going to be 13 in a few, you know, in June the 3rd. I'm like, I get it. But you're still 12 right now. But my kids have always been good kids. And they have, now these last 2, they must get all of those brains from their mother, because I'm going to tell you right now, they bring in straight A's all the time. A honor roll. And I'm like, oh, I'm so proud of you guys. But I remind them, if you get a B or you get a C, or God forbid you even get a D, that while your mother might go hard on you, Dad's going to love you anyways.
Oh my gosh.
Kill me, I'm sure.
The big softy you are. So what's it like to you know, have such a life that you and Heather have built together, right? I'm sure there's ups and downs. I'm sure there's deployments and
oh yeah.
I mean, look, all the nonprofit stuff that you're involved with, all the volunteer work. You just talking to me tonight. I mean, gosh, if you look at your calendar, you probably got 4 things over the next 7 days that you're doing that doesn't pay you a dime for, you know?
Yeah, I had 11 things yesterday that we had to do. And most of it is what I call your responsibility as an American, as a veteran. So I just got off the phone. I'm the national commander for the Military Order of the Purple Heart. So yeah, I went all through that whole system, junior vice and senior vice national commander.
Oh wow.
Some people, you know what I mean, don't like it, but you know, 90% of them do, you know, because it's like they know I'm all in for the order, you know what I mean? And it's like, I want you to support the military or the Purple Heart. And you go to do that by going to purpleheart.org, O-R-G. There's a lot of groups out there that's got Purple Heart this, Purple Heart that. Look, there's only one military order of the Purple Heart, you know, and that is the military order of the Purple Heart of the USA. And anybody in America can become a legacy member, whether you've been a veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. Now, if you want to be a member, you've got to have a Purple Heart. But any American that really wants to help the combat wounded veterans of America, go sign up at on our legacy program. Become a legacy member. We love you for it. You know, they send us, you know, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can afford. You know, we don't say you got to give us $19.50 a month. No, send what you can. If it's $1 a month, God bless you. Thank you for that. You know what I mean? And that's the difference with us. There's that. And then, of course, I'm the executive director for Vet Leadership. And that's a real good one, Will, that you and I are going to have to really hash out sometime, because I want to make you one of the board members, man, on this national executive committee, because
I better sit up a little straighter then.
Yeah,
Hold on, let me
that's
get
right.
Oh wow.
Well, it's all about finding veterans and promoting them to run for office or be selected for these positions. I mean, look, it's no secret what's going on. I don't care what side of the political spectrum you're on. We have problems. The withdrawal from Afghanistan, it was very painful. It's still painful. You know, you have economic problems. You have, you know, so much division in the country right now. You know, it's like, we didn't have that in the military. It's like, look, we had some spats, you know what I mean? But ultimately, we knew how to bring people together as a cohesive unit. And that's why at Vets for Vet Leadership, and you can look us up there as well. It's VETS, the number 4, leadership.org. That's vets4leadership.org. And you'll see some of the people we've, Vets for Vet. You got Vets for Leadership. So it's Vets for Vet. Yeah, Vets for Vet Leadership. It's long, isn't it?
Perfect.
But I think you can type in vets for. Yeah, let me see this thing here. Let me see if I can type this thing in here. Oh, let me see here. Well, I don't think I can type anything here. I don't know. Okay, here we go. Sending host. Yeah. I don't know how to do that, Will, but it's.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Yeah, there you got it, man. You got it right here.
Oh, yay.
So can you pull that up and share that on the screen?
Yeah. Let me do that right there. So right here, vetsforvetleadership.org.
Yeah, pull that up and because I want to show you. Is there anybody?
Yeah. Let me do this. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And look, this is another one of them free things that you do. You know what I mean? You just do this because it's good for your country.
Vets for Vet. I see what I did wrong.
Yeah, Vets for Vet Leadership. That one link, if you just hit that link, it'll come right up.
Yeah.
Will, you're so smart on this stuff, man.
Oh my. I love it.
You're flying drones too, aren't you?
Well, I'm trying to. It's fun. I do enjoy it. Let's see. No, the screen right there. Share screen up.
Yeah.
So.
And look, everybody can sign up and follow this group and look at it. And, you know, there it is, Vets for Vet Leadership. Now, if you wouldn't mind, go to who we are. Let's just pull about our mission.
Okay.
Now, so basically, we're looking at this. A veteran has a unique skill set, okay? And it's like they have been through some very hard things. If you decide that you want to run for office, or if you look at what's going on in Washington right now, there's no communication. So we don't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. We don't care about that. But, ultimately, what we realize is there is an ultra fringe group that even hates this. Now, if you pull that up and you navigate, go to where it says, there you go. Go to, does that say policy? That's hard for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Policy.
Hit the policy.
Okay.
So here's what we stand for, man. We stand for strength, security, and respect. And what does respect really mean? If you really respect our veterans, then the Air Commission that's going on right now is talking about cutting your VA benefits and your hospital services and stuff. That wouldn't be happening. What they would instead be doing is looking at, things like, how do you improve those services?
Right.
Because Abraham Lincoln, and it's plastered on every VA hospital, to care for him who's borne the battle and for his widow and his orphan. Now, I don't think that we're doing all that we can for the veterans. I think that there's things that we could still do. That doesn't mean that you have to give everybody a check for the rest of their life or any of those things, but it's opportunities. If they got hurt, you got to take care of them, man. I mean, that's just the way that it is. And because if you just heard me talk about these battles, you go through stuff like that, your whole body is riddled, with pain. Now, if you think of our pain, I've traveled this country, and I'm going to tell you the saddest situation is when you go to the American Indian reservations and you don't see a CBOC, you don't see, services that are made available to them. And you go on most reservations, most of those tribes 60% of them are veterans.
Right.
And for me, I think that it's like, okay, if you're really, okay, this is me speaking to you woke group out there, you left group over there. You need to call your boys in DC that's talking about cutting this right now and tell him that he's wrong. If you really love people, if you do this, you're going to hurt. You're going to hurt the American Indians. Maybe that doesn't matter to some of these guys, because they're so caught up in this other stuff. And the other thing is the yelling and the screaming and the cursing. There's no respect. There's no, I remember at a time, man, I didn't know whether you was a Democrat or a Republican, when I went to DC. I didn't care because most of them talk to you regardless. Nowadays, they do a voter block on you. It's like, well, what is he registered at? Oh, he's registered as an independent. I better talk to him.
Amen.
Or if you're registered as a Democrat or whatever. And this saying that all, Republicans are evil and they don't care about you or whatever. That's just wrong, man. That's just so wrong to do that. And the same thing with saying all Democrats are bad. There's some good ones out there, man, that actually still live up to the values of JFK. Unfortunately, they're not the ones in charge right now. They're sitting back thinking, what has happened to my party? My grandmother was a Democrat. You know what I mean? My grandfather was a Republican. And I remember the Jimmy Carter election. It was kind of lively around our house.
Right.
But, they didn't hate each other, but they just didn't vote. They just voted for somebody else. And when they won, that was it. And so I think what the problem is we don't have enough adults in the room on Capitol Hill. And we hope that Vets for Vet Leadership will be able to do that. And we hope that we can have civil conversations, not only with candidates, but American citizens, because we want to go to communities, that and address everybody. So that means I don't mind going to the south side of Chicago or the east side of the Appalachian Mountains. It doesn't matter to me because the message is going to be the same no matter where we go: strength, security, and respect. And if you have a candidate that truly stands for that, then why not vote for them? Don't just go and check, well, they're a Republican, I ain't gonna vote for them. No, you shouldn't be that way, man. You should be voting for the person. We had these talks before, Will, I mean, you're more of an independent constitutionalist type guy as well as, and I'm kind of that way too. I'm an independent. That's the way I've been for a long time. But I just think it's so sad that we've lost the ability to be able to communicate. And who hurts? The American people. Every one of you watching this show right now,
Amen.
you're going up there and you're paying $5 for a gallon of gas right now. You know what I mean? You're not going to be able to send your kids to college because you can't pay your bills. Look around. Look what's going on right now. Look what's going on in Ukraine. And it's like, what happened to the president that stood down and stared down the Russians when they tried to put missiles in Cuba and said, get them out, and put the whole country on alert and let them know that if you don't, we're going to kick you out. And I'm telling you, the Russians, are threatening World War III and everything else. And, it's not the time to back down because they do not respect weakness. They only respect strength. And I'm very disappointed in some of the responses that I see going on right now. And I'm very disappointed in people thinking that they can work out a deal with a group of thugs like those thugs that cut that little girl's throat in Iraq. You do not work out no deals with them. You have to be strong and you have to have strength and you have to be secure. That's just it, man.
Hey, it's coming from the man himself. I get it, buddy. I get it, dude. Is my video frozen? Can you see me?
Yeah, you're froze, man, but you're looking debonair, man. You're looking really good, man.
Yeah. I've been froze for like 20 minutes. I'm like, what in the world's wrong with my video?
Yeah, it was probably from sharing that thing, man.
Yeah, I don't know, but it seems like I'm having some trouble with it. But we'll get it figured out. What I'm gonna show this other video I got.
Go ahead.
Yeah. You haven't even seen this one yet.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it'll be fun. There's them Humvees, man.
That's it, baby. What a day.
I can't believe that's you, man.
That's me, man.
Look
That's
at you
me
passed
sleeping.
out in the Humvee, man, with the Pringles can.
Man, what a crew. What a crew right there. That's old James McCormick right there. That was a Gold Star dad back there,
Oh, wow, yeah.
Gold Star tree planting, yeah. That's my mom. That's Woody Williams, my buddy.
Yay.
Not them kids, but I'll tell you what.
You're such a great spokesman for our veterans, man. I'm just honored to know you and to be, look, I've considered you to be a friend of mine for a long time. You weren't just a student, right? Never were you just a student. You were a friend from the true get-go. It was really, really cool and really amazing.
We were so old, Will. That's because we were the old guys.
It's funny. We were so young back then, man. We were kids.
I know. God.
We were the old guys, but I mean, come on, right? Well, of
Yeah.
course, 10 years from now, we'll look back on this and we'll think we were kids, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's the way work life is, I guess, right? Isn't that how it works? Is that I know twice as much today than I knew yesterday, right? And but
Absolutely.
tomorrow I'll know 5 times as more than I will have done today. And so it's just so cool how it all works out together. And am I still frozen with this stupid, mouth
Yeah,
wide open on the screen?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, it's so funny. That is so funny. Oh my gosh, I don't have any clue what's going on. Oh wow, I can't get it. Let me see. I'm gonna try to do something here. This could go bad. I don't know.
It could go bad.
Yeah, it could go bad. I changed it.
There you
So
are, man.
I changed cameras. Look, and then it did the same thing. Now it's frozen me this way.
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know what's
There you go.
happening. I'm going in and out.
You got a storm coming through there in Alabama.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
That's it, man.
Oh my gosh.
There he is. There you go. Now that's a good one right there. See, you're hung right there good. There you are.
Hey, you know what? So I would love to help you with Vets for Vet Leadership or do anything that you need. I love you and your family so much. Such amazing Americans you guys are. I subscribe to your Digging History channel, and I love the videos that you're doing there. It's really, really cool. And, we didn't get a chance to talk about necessarily all of that. And maybe we can get together again sometime.
We'll do it again.
Thank you so much for talking about your battles and your battle scars and your spirituality. It really means a lot. Captain James McCormick, everybody, I'll give you the final word, James.
Sure. Yeah, let me just say this. Will, I love you, brother. I do. And let me tell all of you out there, don't be ashamed to tell somebody that you love them and you care about them. Because you know what? There's not enough of that in the world right now. And you've got friends out there, all of these guys and gals that I served with and my wife and my family. I love them all. You know what I mean? And it's like with Will and with Tom Lee, as our instructors, he's right. We were friends. We were more than just, just a student and an instructor. They took the time and they did a lot of things with us. So I would like for all of you to subscribe to Marshall in the Middle. Share this because I've watched some of his stories as well. Some of the other stories are so amazing. And Will is such a humble and genuine, God-loving individual. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. I'm blessed. I'm the one that's blessed to be able to have him as the friend. So, Will, I love you, buddy. And I'll be down to Alabama to see you. You send me your address. I'm heading down that way because I need to go do some metal detecting down that way anyways.
Amen. Let's go find some arrowheads and buttons and Civil War paraphernalia.
You got it down there, man, all over. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know. All right, so I'm going to close this out with happy to be happy, right? Bye, everybody.